Howard Schultz bought Starbucks in 1987 and built it into a global powerhouse in the coffee business from the beginning. He put a strong emphasis on the company's commitment to social issues and strengthening communities. Now, first on CBS This Morning, Schultz is launching the second season of Starbucks' original series, Upstanders. It features people who have taken action to make their communities better. The first episode focuses on a chef who risked his career to open a restaurant staffed almost exclusively by former juvenile detention inmates.
I was inundated with reasons why it was going to fail. The kids are going to stab each other in the kitchen. The kids don't want to work. The kids just want to collect a check. The kids are going to try to sell drugs in the restaurant. I was betting my entire career on taking kids out of jail and teaching them to play with knives and fire.
There you go. That's good. Hold on.
It's a family. I feel like I can have the worst day and I can come in here and be crying and like broken down to tears, and they can help me and lift me up and make me feel better and make me forget all about it.
Tastes like a mustard green, huh? That might actually be mustard greens.
Upstanders is produced by Howard Schultz, who is also executive chairman of Starbucks, and we're happy to welcome back to the table. Good morning, Howard.
Thank you, Norah. Hi, Charlie.
See you.
Morning.
Good morning. So this second series features stories from all across the country. What's the goal? I mean, the goal is there's a better side to America than what's coming out of Washington. Those stories are not being told. Upstanders won that season. 60 million people viewed that series. I think it's even more relevant today. I think the sense of humanity, compassion, empathy that's going on in every city and every town around the country has to be told. And we had so many stories. We picked 11. We could have had 1,000. And I think people are longing for truth, authenticity. You just talked about millennials. It's an altruistic generation. They want to hear stories like this. And I think we have a false narrative in America, which is coming out of Washington, which is not the American story, not the promise of America. So Starbucks, in its sense, with our platform of almost 100 million customers a week, are just sharing these stories, and I think people are embracing it.
So what's the false narrative out of Washington?
Well, the false narrative is that the divisiveness, the polarization and dysfunction, the lack of leadership is not America. It's going on in Washington, but the divisiveness is not how people act every single day. You know, we have so many stories that we've shown in which there are differences of opinion on a number of issues, but people come together. We met a woman in Missoula, Montana, one of the stories, Mary Poole, against all odds, no training whatsoever, against the mentality in Montana, and she brings refugees from Syria. I mean, these are people who are upstanders, people who are not listening to Washington and doing the kind of things that I think speak to the American story.
So you hope you'll not only give recognition to all the good stories, but also by recognizing the good stories, you may change behavior in Washington?
No, I mean, I don't think Starbucks is in the business of changing behavior in Washington, but I think we have an opportunity, a really important opportunity, to demonstrate that the country needs a more compassionate society and a more compassionate government. And in fact, it is going on every day. I mentioned in the green room to Newt Gingrich, I just came back from Normandy. And I was leaving the cemetery, which is such a sobering experience. And as I was leaving, I met this woman from Baltimore, and I asked her, why are you here? And she said, my husband and I came here to be reminded of who we once were.
Yeah, that's incredibly moving.
And I think, you know, I love this country, as we all do, and I think we're right now facing a real crucible in terms of our society and the lack of leadership in Washington. And I know there's a better side to America, and we have an opportunity to show it.
So there are people who think about you as a potential presidential candidate. My question is, you know, if that was true, is this the kind of narrative that you want to articulate?
Well, I'm not running for president, Charlie, but the narrative that I'd like to try and elevate is the fact that our society needs to be reminded that Washington does not define our behavior, that we define our behavior, and that we can make changes. And every single day around the country, ordinary people are doing extraordinary things, and the media should shine a light on that.
This wasn't your version of a listening tour, the way Hillary Clinton went on a listening tour before announcing her candidacy?
Well, not at all, because we have stores in almost in every community in America.
Sure.
I'm on the road all the time. I was in Houston 3 weeks ago and saw the devastation. That's part of my job. Interesting enough, you know, people coming together in Houston is wonderful, but that's happening not because of a catastrophe. It's happening because of human kindness, and that's going on every day in America. We don't need a hurricane to demonstrate the values and humanity of the country.
Well, you can see that because every time there is this kind of national response to a disaster or a tragedy, you see the same kind of conduct wherever the community is.
Yeah, but I'm also saying I see that.
Even out without the tragedy.
Yes.
I understand.
Yes, but it's not being told. And unfortunately, the tonality coming out of Washington and the lack of civility, the lack of respect, defines the narrative every day.
Are you putting it at the feet of the president?
No, I mean, I think I'm putting it, I mean, listen, we've had polarization, dysfunction in Washington for a number of years. Unfortunately, it's gotten to a boiling point now where it's almost impossible to wake up every day because you've got a different episodic situation. Mm-hmm. And it does place a cloud over our society. And I want to offset that by saying there's something else going on, a better America.
Good for you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Nice to have you here, Howard.